Hello, and a very warm welcome to everyone at EWJ Podcast, where we sit with educators across the globe to discuss up to date approaches of the theme in focus, followed by some actionable teaching strategies, tips, and secrets of the trade that will be inspiring for our listeners and help them to enhance their teaching and learning experience. Your host today is Maria Zahir, and in this episode, we are talking with our special guest, Nabiha Tahir. Welcome, Nabiha. How are you?
Thank you, Maria. Thank you for inviting me for your podcast. I'm good. How about you?
We are good here. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining us today. Those who don't know Nabiha, let me give you a little brief about her. Nabiha is MPhil, CELTA certified IELTS and teacher trainer from UK and Australia certified instructor. She is also a course developer, professional development for teachers, and research writer. Ms. Tahir is contributing to education sector for more than 9 years, where she trains teachers, teaches English language and IELTS specifically to undergrad and graduate bilinguals. Ms. Tahir has broad experience in teaching and second language acquisition, curriculum implementation. Ms. Tahir possesses strong expertise, hands-on experience of digital tools and softwares. She is working as a teacher trainer, mentor tutors, and developing capacities in teaching techniques. So today we are with Nabiha to talk about back to school. It's the time of the year when even seasoned teachers and teachers who are new to this profession scratch their head, if you like, to find new ideas, something new to develop a kind of a rapport with students and everything. So, Nabiha, my first question to you is, can you share something from your personal experience or a memorable moment from your back to school preparation as a teacher?
Yeah, it was back in 2015 when
Mm-hmm.
this was the first time when I was a homeroom teacher for grade 3 for primary level, because previous to that I was teaching grade 6 and I was working as a vice principal in Pakistan. But
Mm-hmm.
this was my first time and it was my first day for my new job. And the moment I entered and I got hired, they gave me the theme for the class was dolphins. And I
Nice.
was like speechless. I was like, okay, so I have to decor a door, classroom door,
Mm-hmm.
using that theme. And I had no, like, I just only had my mobile, no laptop, no other platform to get ideas for the dolphins. And, creating things from scratch was, I believe it was wonderful experience. Why? Because it helped me to reflect and understand how much creative I am and to what level of, creativity I can go. So this is one of my very memorable experience. And when I created, I was like, oh, I'm not doing a good job. Other teachers are doing so well. Because
Yeah.
when I used to look into the corridor and peep around the classrooms, I was like, no, I'm not doing a good job.
Yeah.
But then my coordinator was very encouraging, and she was like, wow, you did a great job, like creating a like an underwater sea kind of thing with different
Nice.
sea animals and dolphins, and following the theme. So this
Yeah.
was one of my very memorable like event from back to school, because this was an extempore
Nice.
and I just was like given a task to do immediately after joining.
So that was your memorable. That's amazing. But let's hear from the students' perspective. What kind of reaction did you get from the students with your decorative door of dolphins?
They were like, wow, so we are dolphins. This was the first sentence from one of the students that came, oh, it's a teacher, we are dolphins. I'm like, yeah, you're dolphins.
Yeah.
You're my amazing dolphins, you're friendly, you're going to work, and we will work as a team. So this
Nice.
was the reaction from my students, and they really liked the door. And I do still have a picture, and whenever I want to, like, look back and I see. So I was like, okay, so yeah, it was a good thing to do.
Nice. Good. Interesting. So, talking about experience here, Nabiha, so do you think getting ready for a new school year needs some kind of a professional development? Does it play a role significantly, or it just comes naturally to teachers?
Um, Now I guess with the need of time, I believe teachers need to have some professional development before starting with the new year, because things have changed very rapidly, Maria. Like specifically after the pandemic, things have changed enormously, because before that we were not too much reliable on technology. We don't have to incorporate technology. But teachers who are working from more than 20 years, of course, they need a lot of knowledge and skills about how to use and incorporate technology into the students now are more aware and more skilled in using apps and softwares than teachers who are like I'm talking about, who are teaching for more than 2 decades.
Yes.
So I believe now it's the time. But yes, previously, like I told you from my experience, I was just given a task, and I just from my own creativity, from my own thinking and brainstorming, I just created up a door.
Yeah.
Teachers do have that skill. I believe they are innate. They are, I guess, if you're destined to be a teacher, you're born with that skill.
Yeah.
But with time, with today's time, yes, they do need a professional development, training before coming back to a new school year.
So, do you recall any specific training or a course that you found particularly valuable for your professional growth, or that helped you really channelize your skills further to a notch up?
Yeah, it did, because till 2015 and 16, I started my CELTA course from British Council, which was offered by Cambridge University in 2016. To be honest, till that, my teaching strategy and the things that I knew as a teacher were totally different. When I started CELTA, it was totally different. And after CELTA, I was a completely new teacher with new things, new technology. And I was like, oh, wow, so you can do the things this way as well. Oh,
Yeah.
and we believe that CELTA is only for English language course, which is not true. That those strategies can be applied for other subjects as well. It's
Yeah.
just that you have to swap them from English to science or math. It's
Yeah.
just the technique. So yes, that was the course which really, really helped me to transform into a very different teacher. Being given that I have a background from science, basically I have done Masters of Philosophy in Biotechnology, but I ended up becoming an educationist and ESL teacher. But CELTA was the platform which really helped me to grow as an ESL teacher.
I couldn't agree more. I always say that too. Like I'm doing my PhD these days, and but my
Mhm.
PhD and my master's didn't give me the skills that I got from CELTA, to be honest. And
Exactly.
and I would also agree here. Yes, you can take the same concept behind they taught you in the CELTA course or any other course, and you can apply it in any subject. So it is usually thought of that it's just for English language, but yeah, the gist is there. But the thing you the skills develop is totally brings your teaching to a totally different scenario, opens totally new windows, a new vision to teaching, in
Yes,
fact. And the
that's
skills that I developed there totally helped me, and I am able to instill that in my new teachers I face these days. Great. So how do you go about organizing and setting up a classroom to create optimal learning environment? Like you said earlier, kids are very different, they're very well informed, and with this technology integration, the technology in their hands 24/7, the
Mhm.
exposure is totally different. So like my nephew, who is just 11-year-old, talks about AI, and
Hmm.
he said is going to replace teachers. He has all that concept now. So, how can we as teachers apply that optimal learning with the students whose brains are functioning 100 times more, like I would like to say, than we were kids at that time?
Well, Maria, honestly, if we see the era now, we have to come to the level of the new generation now, what they think, how do they process information. So we have a competition. Like my husband is a management professional, so he always tells me that we now have a competition with the people of the new age, the new generation, people of like now, like I'm almost like more than 35. So
Yeah,
I have to be at the level of thinking of generation who is 18 or 20 years old, and they
yeah,
are more quick and faster. So the more, how do I create? Because initially when things came up, honestly, with Chat GPT, I was like, no, this is not good. It's making you reliable. It's not helping to be creative. It's going to make students dependent. But every aspect or every tool has a pro and a con. Like, it's not that it only has a negative side or it only has a positive side. So
True.
you
Yeah.
have to, as a teacher, absorb and understand what the latest thing is, how you can incorporate, how you can use it effectively and optimistically for your students so that you can pace with their thinking.
Yeah.
Because if it's AI now, it's Chat GPT, but I stick on to my book, my physical book, and telling them, no, you have to read from the book, they will stop learning, they will stop interacting, and I will definitely not have an outcome. So
Yeah.
by involving these things, because nowadays I'm teaching, privately teaching a student, he's from grade 5, and he's following American curriculum.
Mm.
But what's the thing? Initially, his mom told me that it's not that good in grammar. So I started with a beginner pace to understand how much does he know, but he was very good in the basic grammar. So now I involve more tech tools, more applications, more games and activities. And boys are very different. You
Yeah.
ask the girls to sit down and they sit, but
Yeah.
boys, you have to make them sit by reading their mind. So
Yeah.
I create optimal environment by understanding and reading what the students what do the students think, and
True.
what activities or tools they would like to use when they are understanding and learning. So this is what my strategy for now is, because it's all technology now.
Yes. So the teaching and the development, the whole educational, the platform is transforming overnight. Like
Mm,
you said, with the Chat GPT and all the things the students have hang of.
mm,
And yes, we have to, change our thinking, I think, overnight as well at times. I have to tweak my lessons to make it more engaging. So
mhm.
what improvements or changes you think you're going to do this year, reflecting on last year, how this, the whole, the uh,
Mhm.
educational transformation. So what are the new changes you plan to do this year?
First of all, the point that I missed in the previous question is that I always look for, in the physical classroom, I always look for the classroom layout.
Mm-hmm.
What is the layout, and how can I have my seating arrangement to follow the interactive or kinesthetic activities? But what improvements do I think, which I plan this year, is which I observed when I was teaching at university as an ESL instructor, is setting up a classroom library. Usually we have libraries at school level, but why don't we have them at ESL level? And also
Nice.
for digital libraries, like when we are teaching online, like usually there are many teachers and there are many platforms who are working online, they're giving lessons. So why don't we have that digital kind of thing during the session breaks? Why don't we have those things involved where students, rather than sitting behind for the 10 minute or 15 minutes break and they're using their mobile and watching TikTok videos? No, we don't need that. We should get them involved into something digital but learning. Like
Yeah.
what I do when I give break to my students, recently when I taught for 3 weeks, I either have a quote, or I just turn on a video, a TED talk, like for a
Mm.
quick short 5 minutes or 3 minutes or 4 minutes. At least if they're not listening attentively, but they do listen even one sentence, they're gaining something.
True.
So this is what I really want to involve, is the involvement of a learning method through a library, a digital library. It can be, for ESL students, I know it's difficult. They won't be going into long articles or paragraphs. So you can have small quotes, you can have small videos for
Yeah.
them to learn and understand. So this is what I believe I will be incorporating. But for sure, teachers should do a prior research, because sometimes there are some cultural problems with different kind of content available on the internet. So you should do
Yes.
your research and you should have your things organized before the lesson to involve them during the session breaks.
Great. So with the involvement, I hear new teachers coming into this career saying, well, what you're talking is good, but it creates a chaos in the class. And I
Mhm.
cannot manage my class that way. So, and how would you suggest, like, miss, they get too excited, they get too hyper. I
Mhm.
cannot do this. So what do you suggest? So yet involvement and engagement is there, but the positive classroom culture from day one, how can we instill that? And you recommend something for the new teachers from your experience, how could they do that?
For starting for with the new teachers, Maria, there's one thing which I always try to do is interact with my students before even they enter my class. And how
Mm,
can we do that? It's a very long, forgotten thing, writing letters. So there's a way that you can do a digital letter writing. And I
nice.
believe it really worked with my students.
Mm-hmm.
So you can have a digital letter writing thing with your students. You write them a letter before they come to your class, and if you are flexible with that, and you can share a picture with them, because specifically for the kindergarten level, because my niece, she just started school and she was very excited watching her elder brother and sister going to school. But the day one, her brother and sister didn't accommodate because it was her day one, and
Yeah.
she got a little nervous and she started crying, although every day she would have her bag on, that,
Oh,
oh, I'm going to school every day. But what happened, because she never saw her teacher before,
yeah.
she was not aware, she was not feeling protective, she was not feeling safe or secure or welcomed.
Yeah.
So this is one of the biggest loop that teachers need to fill before the students come to the class. They should either have a video for small, like for the kindergarten level,
Yeah.
you can have a small introductory video telling them, talking to them, that I'll be your teacher, this is my name, I like this. And also, I don't watch cartoons, but if my students like to watch, I would say, oh yeah, that cartoon is so nice, I really like it. So you have to become like one of them to understand them and
Yes.
welcome them. And for upper elementary or elementary level, even primary level, write letters to them and tell them that I would love to hear back from you. Students love these kind of things. And before entering the class, they know that who their teacher is, what
Mm,
kind of person they are going to be meeting in. So they feel very, accommodative when they are familiar with the teacher. So this is one thing which I would recommend teachers to follow. The second thing which I would say is their tone. You have to work on your tone. It gets stressful initially. Students are not listening. I'm telling you from my experience. I had boys initially, and I had never taught boys. And 2 days I was stressed out. I was like, okay, I'm resigning because I can't handle boys. But then
right.
I was like, no, this is a challenge and I should be giving up. Then
Yeah.
I started reading their mind. How do boys think? What do they want? They
Yeah.
want fun. They want interactive activities. But what you can do is you can control them by giving them responsibilities.
Yeah.
And also, there's one thing more which really works is, like, okay, we are going to set up classroom rules, and I want you to all think with me, what kind of rules should we have for the classroom? So
Yeah.
they will like divide them into groups. Each group is going to give one rule, and then ask them to give the consequences if you do not follow the rule. It really works wonders. For
Yeah.
me, it really worked wonders, because they have set the rules and they have set the consequences, so they
Yeah.
are in their own trap in a way, and they will be abiding by the
Yeah.
rules, and it really works. The third thing which I would say is, understand the prior knowledge for of the students. What do they know? Like, for example, if you're teaching them grammar, for instance, so just give them one sentence and try to make it easy.
Yeah.
Because when students are entering into a new class, the first fear they have is they will be learning something difficult. It will be very challenging. How would I cope? So you have to make them comfortable by giving them the sense of encouragement. Oh, you are amazing. Oh, a present simple sentence. Oh, you know that? Oh, wow, you know that. So they will feel, oh, yeah, I know it. So I can do it. So from that is the foundation where you can build on, giving
True.
them, challenging concept. But the sense of achievement and understanding is something which you can use for of the students very effectively. So
Yeah.
this is
That's
these are the four things I always work.
great. I'm sure it helps you with the challenges in the classroom, maintains a respectful and inclusive learning environment. That's
Yeah,
great. So when we
yeah,
come to the learning environment of, we have diverse learners in our classroom. And, we have to meet the needs. So we have mixed abilities in our classroom. So can you share any tips of, differentiating instructions that that were very affected and that you think are helpful for teachers who are listening to you?
The first thing, Maria, I would recommend is you have to monitor and understand what is the level of the student. Like, for example, because I have been more into ESL teaching, so I have to see, okay, so I have a diverse, or I have a differentiated classroom, a differentiated student. So what will I do?
Mm.
I have to see how many of them understand the fluent English, how many of them understand a moderate pace of English, and for how many I have to simplify my English language. So
Mhm.
you have to base your instructions or your teaching method based on the language that you use specifically for ESL students and even for young learners. You cannot talk to them very fluently with high frequency words. So for differentiated learners, the most important thing is your language. How
Mhm.
do you talk to them? Like last year, I had the 3 week session when I was teaching. I had students who were not even aware of the word difficult.
Yeah.
So that was a challenge for me. But what I did, I simplified my language.
Mm.
I started speaking slowly, breaking the words down into like, the sentence into words. Like,
Yeah.
okay, you have to do this. Like, sometimes it feels very difficult or challenging for the teacher to, who is fluent, and you have to be slower in your speaking
Yeah.
skills. It works. So for
Yes.
that, it works. And also try to break down your concept. Like if you're teaching, for example, again, I'll give example of present simple. So first ask them, what is subject, what is verb, what is object or predicate if you're teaching American curriculum. So what is that? So they know that from every single word, what are they learning?
Yeah.
And try to have group activities more with mixed learners, like excellent learners, moderate learners, average, or the weak learners. So when
Yeah.
they work together, they help each other to grow.
True.
So this really works with a differentiated setting.
Great. Thank you. So we were talking about what teachers should do. So, but we forget this point that there's something called teachers' well-being, because no matter how experienced or the number of years you have under your belt, there comes this time where there's preparation for the new academic year, there's stressful times. So we forget about the self-care, and especially if we are working in an environment where we don't have any support from our peers. So what do you think of that? So do you think teachers' well-being is something very important?
It is very crucial, Maria, because if teacher is not like mentally and physically, she's not healthy, she won't be able to deliver. Like if we, even if we keep ourselves in that position, if we are mentally and physically not well, not healthy, how are we going to deliver? We're not going to be able to deliver, no matter how best your lesson plan is, how excellent your strategies are, how well you have designed the activities, but they won't work. So the
Yeah.
first thing I believe is enough sleep, adequate sleep. If you're not sleeping enough, you are not going to be able to deliver a good in your classroom. Time management, which is
Yeah.
very important. You have to organize your schedule, the whole day schedule, because keeping a balance between your work and your personal life is the basic key for a successful teacher.
True.
Because if you're only working and working, you're a workaholic and you're not having a personal space, a personal time, which is like a me time or time with your family, and you're not relaxing yourself,
Yeah.
eventually you will fall, because you're a human, you're not a machine. Even machines do have a certain limit of working
Yeah.
efficiently.
Yeah.
The fourth thing is that you have to stay hydrated,
Yeah.
because that is very important for your mental health. Because if you're dehydrated, again, you won't feel that what's going wrong, but you will feel irritated,
Yeah.
worried, you will feel agitated on minor things.
Yeah.
The fifth thing which I would recommend is healthy diet and exercise,
Yeah.
which is again very important. Go for a short walk. I won't say like go for a full exercise in a gym. No, you can go for a small walk for 5 or 10 minutes,
Mm.
especially early in the morning, which is again very important. The last thing is stay optimistic. There are many people around you. Some of them will criticize, some of them will encourage you. But your key is to absorb that criticism and turn that into a positive thing.
Yeah.
You don't have to overthink, you don't have to get that vibe absorbed in you. So
Yeah.
this is the thing which is very important for your well-being, and you have to set your boundaries. If
Yeah.
there's something which is across your limit and you're not able to inform very politely and humbly that I
Yeah.
won't be able to make it, rather than keeping yourself under pressure,
Yeah.
and eventually that under pressure is going to affect you very badly in all manners,
Yeah.
mentally, physically. Your health can deteriorate, but you won't be able to give outcome as a teacher, and you might end up losing your job because of that, to be honest.
So we
So
don't want to go to that track,
you don't
right?
want to
So
go into that part. So it's very
yeah.
important to first care about yourself.
True. And I think it's not just for the beginning of academic year, it's throughout your semester or the academic year. If you start feeling the burnout, you have to find that balance from work and home. And you really need to understand and develop the balance, like you said, and doing those tips you've given about being hydrated, not being frustrated, and looking at the brighter side of the picture and
Yeah.
getting
And
something
also
positive out of
discuss
that.
with your colleagues. Always discuss
Yeah.
ideas with
Yeah.
colleagues. You
Yeah.
learn a
It
lot from
helps.
them.
Yeah.
Don't refrain that no, I'm not going to share my ideas. No, share.
Yeah.
Share is caring. Why is it said like that? Because
Yeah.
it really helps you to learn and grow.
Yeah. I always say, if you say, I have taught for elephant years and I don't need to change myself and I don't need to learn, I think that's the death to your career. No matter what
Exactly.
what field you are working in, if you have
Mhm.
this feeling, I know it all, I don't need to learn, that's it. I think you should
Exactly.
quit your job that
Exactly.
day.
Exactly. Learning
Unfortunately,
is
we
a
have that
exactly.
temperament going around teachers. Oh, I don't need to go to professional development. I don't need to learn. You don't need to tell me. I know it all, you know.
Yeah.
So, and I think this new teachers have, and even students, I learn so much from my students in a classroom. They have such great ideas, their exposures, their vision to learning is totally different. So,
Yes.
yeah, so that's something really good. So,
Teachers need to keep on learning. They need to
true.
progress themselves
Yeah,
professionally, because
yeah,
this also keeps them, I believe, for me, I always keep I believe that this keeps me young. When I'm learning new thing, that means I'm going with the new time. So it
yes,
makes me feel young and energetic, that oh yes, I can do that. Oh, this is the new thing.
yes,
Recently I learned about talking points is another website, and it's kind of an app, and it
yeah,
helps teacher and parents to stay connected in more than 100 languages,
yeah,
which is again a very one, and I'm into exploring that,
nice,
that how it works and how you can use that to
yeah,
interact with parents. So
nice.
this keeps you mentally active and healthy.
Yes, why not? Yeah. And exploring, the more you explore, the more you learn and more you develop your skills, and you can deliver it effectively as well.
Exactly, exactly.
Right. So I wish we could continue even longer, Nabiha, but we are coming to the end of the podcast. And before I say goodbye to you and our listeners, I want to hear your final thoughts, please, about some words of encouragement or advice to fellow teachers,
Mhm.
especially to those who have embarked on this journey as a
Mhm.
new academic year and running,
Mhm.
like I say, headless chicken to
Yeah.
find a night spot. So just a quick thought,
Mhm.
and let's hear
Mhm.
it from you.
Well, the final thoughts I would say is, Maria, that teachers should keep the joy of learning alive. Like you should always remember the word why. That
Yeah,
why you became a teacher. Remember the passion, the passion that created you a teacher,
yeah,
and you have to make a difference. You will need to celebrate small like achievements. That if you have given an excellent lesson plan, celebrate that, because that celebration is something which keeps you happy, and the more happy you are, the more you're able to deliver the best. The
yeah,
second thing I would say is be an active listener, because
yeah,
it's not only listening and active listening are two different things. Active listening is you try to understand what the other person wants to say,
yeah,
because if you're not able to listen to the thoughts, and if you're not able to understand what your student wants to say, maybe the student is struggling,
yeah,
then you won't be able to have your lesson based on what the student's need is. So
yeah,
you are there as a teacher, so you should make a difference, and remember that in this journey you're not alone.
yeah,
There are
true.
many sailors with you, there are many captains of the ship, so you're
Yeah,
not alone. And take one step at a time. Don't try to like there's a article which I'm writing these days. It's about task based learning, quantity versus quality.
Yeah.
Teachers believe that, okay, doing task one after the other is an excellent lesson. No, it's not
Yeah.
an excellent lesson. Excess of everything is bad. So you
Yeah.
have to keep a balance between the quantity and the quality. Quality is something which matters. The
True.
number of tasks is, it should be the amount which should be able to give the required outcome which you need from your students. So
True.
this is what I believe teachers should really work on. And you should keep on learning. Don't stop the process of learning.
Yeah.
Learning is the key. That's the only way you can progress as an excellent teacher.
Yeah. And also we have to recognize that we need that learning in the first place to
Yeah,
continue that learning. Yeah.
that's
Thank
very
you so
important.
much, Nabiha. Thank you so
Yeah.
much for your time and sharing your insights about back to school and sharing your experiences with us. We really appreciate having you here today with us at our platform.
Thank you, Maria. Thank you for inviting me and giving me this opportunity to share my thoughts. Although I agree with you, 30 minutes is not enough because there's
Yes,
a lot to cover and a lot to say, but
probably
I'll
we'll
try
catch you in
my best.
another episode for something different and insightful. Yeah,
Sure. Thank you. Thank you.
yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you so
Thank you
much.
again for inviting and giving me opportunity so that I can share my thoughts with teachers out there.
Thank you so much. So I hope our listeners have got some insights and some really thought-provoking questions around their mind, what Ms. Tahir has shared with us. Look forward to our upcoming podcast as well. And we see you soon, very soon, in another podcast. Bye for now.
Thank you. Thank you, Maria.